going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing all right today. In yesterday's video, we were talking about this consolidation at the previous all-time high for Bitcoin, right? Because it was a little bit below that $20,000 level. Literally, probably about an hour after I put my video out, we had this candle right here. Bitcoin got all the way down to about $18,463. Now, currently, it is hovering still around the area just below 19,000. Now, having a look right here, we obviously are starting to fall out of this bear flag, and we did talk about how, unfortunately, these are bearish patterns. When you do consolidate to the upside in these parallel channels, you fall, you put it in like this, same thing. But you notice that we have stopped here. Now, I was looking at this, asking myself, what exactly is the significance of why Bitcoin stopped right here? Is it just this little bit of support right here? Is that why we're stopping, right? Well, actually, what's crazy is if we take this level all the way back to the previous all-time high, this is actually the weekly candle close for the week of December 11th, which was the week that we had the Bitcoin all-time high in 2017. So pretty crazy. If you actually zoom in here, look at how the markets totally just respect that levels, right? So we were sitting here at the wick. You could see right here, this is where we were sitting right here. And then when we fell, we came down and found support at the next level, which was the weekly close of that year. So I just thought that was just a little bit interesting. I wanted to point that out in the beginning of the video. But that aside, guys, we do need to talk about what is happening because there's something in the weekly crypto inflows that we absolutely have to pay attention to. It is actually a bit of a warning sign, especially if you're trying to trade these markets right now. You're going to want to stick around until the end for that. I also want to discuss why particularly this bear market is very different from the previous bear markets, right? We've seen a lot of positive indicators, bullish indicators, and yet price continues to fall. We also have everything that's going on in the world right now, but there are 12 things specifically that I do want to go over. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because we just can't simply ignore these things, and it is affecting everything from gold to Bitcoin to equities to, you name it, right? So that is something we need to assess as well. And also, the IMF, potentially some good news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I'll take some good news, right? So if that sounds good to you guys, we will go over the critical levels. We are definitely hanging on by a thread right here. Bitcoin should attempt to at least put in a small bottom at these levels. If it does fall directly through, that would not be good considering the significance of that weekly candle close I just showed you. But nevertheless, if that sounds good to you guys, we're going to go over all that today. Make sure you stick around to the end. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. And of course, if you're not subscribed, well, definitely consider it. So we obviously already went over this area. I've talked about the levels to look for. And I did say that if we fell down here, there was that possibility of retesting all the way back around 17,600, right? Now, currently, what I didn't realize was the weekly close right here, because I personally consider the monthly close to be a lot more significant on the macro. And we know where that is, right? That's all the way down around 13,800, 900, a lot farther of a drop if we were to go down to those levels at that point. Obviously, even when we had this run up here, right? This level also touched the level where we closed. So that's why it's so important. But nevertheless, the fact that this was the actual weekly close of this previous top, it would be nice to build some support here, but you could kind of argue that that's what we've been attempting to do, right? Now, there always is the possibility that we are putting in a giant double bottom. Now, we've seen Bitcoin do this a lot, right? That could signal that the bottom is potentially in. It may not be, right? There's a lot of things happening, but nevertheless, currently, where we're sitting, we are technically putting in a higher low at this point, right? It's not fully, truly confirmed on the weekly just yet, but we haven't gone back down. So it is still possible that this was the capitulation wick. And we did talk about the fact that we could see Bitcoin have that pullback and have that retest, right? Now, yesterday, we were talking about the significance of this legacy trend line. And if you want the good news, on the monthly chart, even with the recent price action, if I zoom in, you can actually see we still have not fallen below that level. In fact, we could go down even a little bit more to around 18,300 roughly and still be above that level, right? Because as you see, if we go back here, you could see if we take the top of the candle close back in June of 2011, and then you could see we have these two touches right here, respecting it. Then we have kind of a touch right there, a little bit premature. This right here, right, never closed below it. All these candles, they went below it, but they never closed below it. Then we had the COVID crash right here. That bounced off of it. And currently, even with the recent price action, that's where we're sitting. So there's two things that we can take away from this. Number one, we could say that it's good that we're holding above these levels. But, obviously on the flip side, guys, if we lose this level, you can see how significant this $13,800 area is, right? This is where we had that candle close. And when we had the giant pump all the way back up, that's exactly where we found that resistance, right? So there is that possibility. And I just want you guys to be prepared for it, that maybe this is it. Maybe this is the bottom, right? Possibly. Could be, maybe. But if we lose this line right here, there's really nothing stopping us from coming all the way down to here. There's really nothing significant in between these two levels, unfortunately, until we get all the way down to about 13,800. So I'm not saying that I want that to happen, but nevertheless, unfortunately, if we do start to lose that level and we do confirm underneath it, that would be an opportunity to potentially short Bitcoin, literally. And I don't like shorting Bitcoin, but that is what you would want to do. That's about a 25%, right? So even if you did a low leverage like 4, that would be a good opportunity. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. Although I don't mind accumulating cheap, I just want to be realistic about the possibilities. Get subscribed to the channel. I will let you know if I see anything in the chart. As of right now, no, we're being held by this legacy spider line, which dates all the way back to 2011. So far, so good for Bitcoin as far as the bulls attempting to defend those levels. Now, something super interesting. Now, we've been looking at this falling wedge, right? And we had the intersecting point right here where the spider lines essentially crossed each other. And this is exactly why, you could say that, TA doesn't matter. Yeah, but look at what we find in the chart, right? Even though there are a lot of things happening, the TA still does help you to paint this picture, because look, once we fell through this spider line right here, look at where we bounced on the bottom line right here, and look at where we're finding resistance at the top line now. Now we can't get above that level, right? So this is telling me essentially what we need to do is break back above the level, which is really kind of where we're sitting right now, it's basically $19,000 even. If we can get above that level, then there is that chance that we do attempt this area right here at around 19,500, right? So just to point it out, that's another opportunity for a potential trade. If you notice that we break above 19,000, we hold above it on the daily, then you could potentially see maybe 4% move to the upside. Could be a quick swing trade, but ultimately we are in a downtrend. Like I said, get subscribed. We'll go over it. I'll let you know if I see anything. But something that is a little bit scary. So we talk about all these indicators that we have seen and a few things that we have never seen before, right? Like Bitcoin stay below the 200 weekly for so long. Bitcoin not having a blow off top, having a rounded double top. Lots of things we've never seen. Something else we've never seen Bitcoin ever do is stay below the monthly EMA ribbon for this long. Now you could see that generally once we get above this ribbon, like for example, right here, then yes, we go on a major bull run, and it usually lasts a pretty long time. Here, it was a little bit short-lived, right? But when we get inside of it, we're in the bear market, and very, very rarely do we ever actually fall out of it, right? Back here, you could argue, okay, we had a couple wicks out of it. Right here, we dipped below it for a week. COVID, came down, went back up. But for the most part, we don't hang out underneath this EMA ribbon on the monthly for really a very long period of time. And currently, if I go over here, guys, we've been below it for 1, 2, 3, going on the 4th month now of sitting below this EMA ribbon. This is something we've never seen before. This is uncharted territories. And something else to note is that now, obviously, these moving averages, you could see, we don't have them all back here because as time goes by, we get more of the averages, right? Because it's more time. So that's why we have these adding up to the band right here. But you could see the 89, right? Which basically essentially started right here at the 2017 all-time high. You could see it's only ever been tested once, and that was during the COVID crash. And we did bounce off of that. But then we come over here and we're seeing that we're sitting on it. Right? So you really don't want to lose this level. It's bad enough that we've already lost the ribbon, but losing the 89 is something we've never seen before. And that could be the catalyst potentially that would take us down to that $13,800 level, right? I do hate being so bearish, but at this point, guys, you have to be realistic. We're getting these bottom signals. We have like 10 bottoming signals, and yet Bitcoin is going lower and sideways, right? Lots of things that are happening out in the real world. Now, I did want to put a little bit of a warning, though. Why we should be careful with the shorts. If you look right here, capital is flowing into short Bitcoin funds at a record rate, while regular long Bitcoin funds continue to see outflows. This is according to data from CoinShares. So short Bitcoin investment funds, essentially funds that rise in value when Bitcoin's price falls, saw inflows of about $18 million last week, the largest weekly inflow ever recorded for that category. The inflows brought the total assets under management in short Bitcoin funds to about 158 million. That is a lot of people shorting Bitcoin right now. Now, it could be the right thing to do, right? We could be heading into a global economic depression. I don't know. But that seems a little bit crowded in the short term. And if this short mentality is translating over to the derivatives exchanges, to the options exchanges, well, we could be in for a potential short squeeze. I'm just throwing it out there. Everyone is trying to do it right now. Not saying that we're not going to go lower, just saying this is the highest record inflow we've ever seen in this category for trying to short Bitcoin. So I would just be careful with the shorts at this point. That's all I'm saying. Just there may be a relief bounce coming soon, maybe within a week or two or something like that, right? Having a look at Bitcoin dominance, we do notice that we are very, very, very low. Unfortunately, the last time we were this low was in January of 2018, which you guys know what happened then. That was the final exit pump for all the altcoins after the Bitcoin all-time high of 2017, and we went into a full-on bear market. Now, while Bitcoin dominance did increase in value, that wasn't good for the price necessarily. It was basically because people were selling their altcoins, hopping back into Bitcoin, right? But the price, nevertheless, still continued to fall. Now, Ethereum, on the other hand, is actually performing much better than Bitcoin. Yesterday, Bitcoin was down, I don't know the total, but I looked at it at one point. It was down about 6%. And Ethereum was only down 1%. And the Ethereum Bitcoin comparative is still holding quite strong here at this level. So I would anticipate that you will see a breakout for Ethereum. In fact, there's a lot of people that are saying right now that the Ethereum merge could potentially really be that catalyst that's sort of keeping the market afloat right now, right? Which is why, personally, I am bullish on Ethereum. And even if it ends up being, buy the rumor, sell the news event, nevertheless, I think that the price is still going to do quite well over time. Obviously, if everything is crashing, Ethereum's going to crash as well. But don't forget, guys, if you are trading, don't make the mistake. Even if we do have this breakout on the Bitcoin dominance or on the Bitcoin comparative, remember that this is only in Bitcoin. Now, in most exchanges, you trade either using perpetual swaps of the coins themselves or dollar, right? So it's all tied to the dollar. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't go out there trying to trade just because it breaks the Bitcoin comparative and now you go long and you're losing because Ethereum is still falling in value, just not falling as fast as Bitcoin, right? So make sure that you guys check out my tutorial on BitGet where I go over all that. You guys can learn everything from A to Z, beginner to expert, right? That's popping up above. And also there's an $8,000 bonus for that, but there's also an extra $16,000 below for other things as well if you guys want to try trading on some of these other exchanges. I recommend taking advantage of these opportunities, especially during bear markets like this, right? Good times to hone your skills and get better at, trading, investing, learning, everything, right? That's what you do in bear markets. You build, you learn, right? So getting back to the culprit, getting back to the bad guy, getting back to the elephant in the room, it's the DXY. And currently we are having, zooming in right here, it does look like we are having a lot of sell pressure, right now on this candle. We have to see how it ends for the week. But ultimately, at this point, it's just been on an absolute tear. And really, until we see a major, major reversal for the DXY, it's unfortunately going to be pretty hard for, these assets to really run. Now, we thought we had it right here. We thought it broke the parabola. It didn't, right? It just kept running. So obviously, that is the situation at hand. Now, should you go into dollars? Well, I've been watching a lot of these doom and gloom podcasts lately, and, everyone's saying, run for the hills, Armageddon, it's over. And then, they ask these guys, them, what do you do, right? And then their answer is, they don't know. They don't know what to do. Okay, so that's not very helpful, right? We know, inevitably, the dollar is getting devalued. For example, Crypto Rand says the dollar has lost over 96% of its value. A dollar in 1800 is equivalent to about $22.13 today, or in other words, a dollar today in 1913 would be worth about 4 cents. Bitcoin does not do that, right? And in the long term, I believe Bitcoin is the answer. I actually tweeted, if you follow me on Twitter, it is one of those situations where the world has not fully caught on to Bitcoin just yet. We are in those early stages. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, the dollar is falling a little bit, but Bitcoin fell by 70%. Well, yeah, in the short term, but Bitcoin is historically known to drop 95% and then pump like 1,000, 2,000, right? And if you come over here, interesting statistic from Tip Ranks, they say as of September 7th, 47% of Bitcoin holders remain in profit at the current price, while 52% are in a loss. So it's an interesting statistic, but 47% of holders are actually still in the green, right? And a lot of these, if you do look at the hodl waves, are people that did buy Bitcoin, years ago, right? So it is a game of holding. You don't want to overinvest. You don't want to put more in it than you can afford to lose. But right now, I'm not an economist, not financial advice. What would I be doing? I would be trying to hold a diversified portfolio. Now, personally, don't do what I do because I am a lot more heavy into Bitcoin than most people. So it's like a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. I prefer to hold Bitcoin. It's what I want to do. It's what I choose to do. Some people, they don't have the conviction to do that, right? But what you could do is you could diversify, you could be putting, 50% into cash, 30% into Bitcoin, 20% into Ethereum if you want to do it like that. Or you can diversify even more. You can have a piece of land, right? You can have some gold, right? That way, as the markets fluctuate in either direction, if the dollar starts to get a little bit stronger, great. I have a little bit more purchasing power in the short-term time period. But I'm also accumulating Bitcoin for long-term because we know inevitably, guys, they're going to have to turn the money printer back on again. I don't care what they say. I don't care if they say this time it's different. They have been speaking doom and gloom forever. Just Google it, and it's always the end of the world. It's always the apocalypse. And I'll tell you what, when you're living through it, when you're going through it like we're going through it right now, it always feels like it's the worst, right? I could see you right now. Someone on the other side's like, no, KW, you don't get it. This time is different. This is the real apocalypse. Look at the world. Guys, we've had world wars. We've had depressions, recessions. We've had defaults, right? We've had all of these situations before. This too shall pass. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to pass as fast as it has previously because Bitcoin's previous, bear market cycles were usually around 2 years. But keep in mind, that was during a time of inflation and stocks going up. Now that we're seeing stocks falling and we're seeing the Fed attempt to fight it, we may see the cycle a little bit longer, right? Maybe we get a 4-year bear market. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm just saying that's a possibility. I just don't think we're going to be in a bear market forever. But what are some of the factors contributing to that? Well, I wanted to read this article from Zero Hedge. I know I'm going on a little bit long today in this video, but I want to share this with you guys. So these are 12 statistics, 12 numbers they say that we should pay attention to. Now, the government is saying that unemployment rate went up to about 3.7% in August, right? According to John Williams of Shadow Stats, if honest numbers were being used, the real rate of unemployment in the United States is actually closer to 24%. Just the same way as they changed the definition of a recession because we are in a recession, so they changed the definition of a recession so that we're not in a recession, right? Just moving the goalpost, kicking the can down the street is what they're doing. According to these, about half of the U.S. companies say that they're going to be eliminating jobs within the next 12 months, which is weird because, as I said, in my town, I've seen people hiring, looking for help. Maybe there's something weird about the place I live, but they're saying in the next 12 months, most companies are looking to actually downsize. That's definitely not good. The government is telling us that the inflation rate is around 8.5%. However, once again, according to John Williams of Shadow Stats, if the rate of inflation was still calculated the way it was back in 1980, the real rate of inflation would actually be closer to around 17% right now. Once again, they've changed the rules. They've moved the goalpost, right? So it is worse than it looks. Just like we're not in a recession, but we technically are. So probably once we get into a depression, then they'll just say, oh yeah, now we're in a recession. They're just going to keep changing it. Now, at one company, the number of Americans taking out short-term loans for groceries has nearly doubled. 1 out of every 5 home sellers in the United States has dropped their asking price. Sales of previously owned homes were about 20% lower this July than they were last year. One recent survey found that 3.8 million Americans believe that they could be evicted from their homes within the next 2 months. According to the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, approximately 20 million U.S. households are currently behind on their utility bills. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has fallen for 3 weeks in a row. We also witnessed this sort of a gradual slide just prior to the big crash of 2008. And finally, in August, a whopping 2,150 corporate executives sold off shares in their company. Are they trying to cash in while they still can? So these are just some of the things going against us right now, right? It's obviously a very different time. It could be as bad as some people are saying. I just don't think that it's the end of the world, like some people are saying. I think we will figure out a way. And I think those who can stick through this and build and accumulate things like Bitcoin and gold and, real estate, whatever, I think are going to do very, 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 very well. But all right, guys, enough with the doom and gloom talk. So check this out. This came out from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. So they released a new research report on cryptocurrencies. The report stated that cryptocurrencies are no longer a niche product. Furthermore, regulators must coordinate to introduce an efficient way to regulate crypto in the market. They said a global regulatory framework will bring order to the markets, help instill consumer confidence, lay out the limits of what is permissible, and provide a safe space for useful information. A worldwide framework would bring order to the markets. The paper continued to say, additionally, it's also going to serve to establish consumer confidence, set boundaries for what's allowed, and provide a secure environment for innovation, which is basically what I just read up here. So I kind of read the same thing twice. But nevertheless, why am I bringing this up? Why am I saying that? Well, you're like, oh, they're coming in, right? So we need regulations. There are so many big players, big players, the sovereign wealth funds, right? That are not going to really get involved in Bitcoin and crypto unless we have that regulatory framework, right? That's actually what they're waiting for. That's the first good thing to take away from this. And I know regulation, nobody wants it. Look, you can put Bitcoin on a ledger. You can go to another country. You can keep the seed phrase in your mind. No one can take your Bitcoin. It still has all of the properties of money. It still is, non-confiscatable, borderless, etc. But for the broader crypto space and for it to actually be adopted to the level that we want it to, especially if, you're in it for the money, if you're in it for the decentralization, then what do you care? What does it matter what the price of Bitcoin is? It does its job, right? But if you are one of those people that's, wanting its number to go up, this is what's going to happen. So number one, that's good. It could be good for some of these bigger funds. Number two, why is this a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because they're saying they want to regulate it, not that they want to ban it. They don't want to get rid of it. They want to figure out how we can actually regulate it to protect consumers, but also they said not stifle the innovation, which I think is big news. So I did want to end on some good news, and also good news a little too. Mt. Gox creditors have been failed to get their repayment day. So they did say September 15th, you have to, basically make or transfer a claim, but the payouts have been engulfed in a long-standing legal battle. So they said it could take months to still years until they actually get that payout. So remember, we were fudding over that. We were getting scared, right? Even I was reading stuff on Twitter that day, remember, and I thought it was going to happen. It didn't happen. So it was just a bunch of FUD, guys. So at least that's something that we don't have to worry about. But, ultimately, just having a look here at Bitcoin, it really is crazy to see how we're kind of hanging around that previous level right here. And, maybe we do end up putting in a double bottom, right? We did get that manipulation X right here, something we've never, ever seen ever on Market Cypher Weekly that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm using the index. Maybe we got it on a different chart like Coinbase or something like that. So that is something to note. So yeah, we do have the green dot. We did have that warning with the blood diamond. That was kind of the, the warning sign that things were getting a little bad here. But yeah, for the most part, guys, we just have to keep our eyes on it, and hopefully we just have to have the situation blow over. I do think, though, that as time progresses, I do believe that Bitcoin will be seen as that, safety against these types of situations that we're having right now. It already is a good inflation hedge. We know that as inflation was running, Bitcoin performed the best against the inflation, but now they're trying to fight inflation, right? The Fed is coming in, they're stepping in, they're bringing down the hammer. They're trying to basically fix all their mistakes. Will they be able to? I doubt it. I see them reversing stance at some point. I do. I'm calling their bluff, but that's just my opinion. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. And that is it for me. So once again, guys, make sure if you do want to take advantage of that bonus below, make sure that you check the link in the description. Make sure you watch the tutorial that's about to pop up right here, right now. And that's it for me, guys. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.